Hello, welcome back to the translation series where we're going to be talking about Bible translations and their pros, their cons, their weird stuff. Today we have a fairly uninteresting video on the NKJV, or also known as the New King James Version. It's essentially a revamped version of the King James Version at the loss of some of the King James versions, like amazing prose and like how it's written and stuff like that. Like it's losing some of that beautiful writing style, but for extra readability. That's going to be basically the main difference. Congratulations, you now know the NKJV. The NKJV is also, just like the KJV, a word-for-word translation. It's actually one of the primary translations I use. It was my grandmother's Bible, and then it got passed down to me, and so I just use it a lot. It's a good Bible. Some background for the NKJV, a group of 130 scholars grouped together to make this translation, and it took them a total of 7 years to complete the NKJV. The NKJV was actually published in 3 separate stages. So stage 1 was the New Testament in 1979, and then the Psalms in 1980, and then the Old Testament in 1982. Effectively, actually, like completing it. So yeah, 3 stages: New Testament first, Psalms, and then the Old Testament. So by 1982, the NKJV was completely finished. Pros, like once again, it's a great translation. If you listen to my podcast on the KJV, I kind of break down the KJV in a lot more detail than this NKJV. But if you listen to that, all the pros of the KJV are basically pros of the NKJV minus the beautiful writing style. With that being said, some of the cons are a lot of the same cons that the KJV had. So it has what I believe to be the less accurate version of 1 John chapter 5, verse 7, that verse on the Trinity. I believe in the Trinity, I just don't believe that 1 John 5, 7 really says anything about the Trinity. I already believe that the Bible has substantial evidence for the Trinity, but just we don't need to pretend a verse is in the Bible when it really isn't. And I know that's going to cause a lot of controversy, so come at me, bro. However, if you get a physical copy of the NKJV, not like on the Bible app or anything like that, there's actually footnotes that tell you where these verses are that probably weren't in the original manuscripts. Unlike the KJV, where the KJV I don't think even tells you that. So it's kind of cool that the NKJV tells you, like, hey, this verse probably wasn't in the original manuscripts and stuff like that. So that's really good. That helps the reader kind of gauge some authenticity within the actual translation. Not saying that the NKJV or the KJV is inauthentic, but like I said, there are verses, specifically like 3 that I can think of. John 7:53 and 8:11 through 8:11, my bad. The ending of Mark and 1 John chapter 5, verse 7. Those, the NKJV tells you that those probably weren't in the original manuscripts, but they are in there in case you want to read them, which is really cool, actually. It's a con in the sense that it's there, in my opinion, because I don't think it should be there. But it's also good that they mention that those specific verses and chapters were added. Not like modern day added, but added a little while after the original manuscripts were written. Another thing that you could see as problematic is the fact that when the KJV or NKJV was being written, there was more manuscripts on the New Testament available, but they just stuck to the Textus Receptus. If you guys don't know what that is, check out my KJV video. But they stuck with the Textus Receptus. Honestly, that's not really a con, but like it is just something to know. The NKJV does bring some clarity to some verses that are slightly confusing. For example, Matthew 6:6, as we referenced to earlier in the KJV, I keep mixing them up. In the KJV, Matthew 6:6, where he says, go into your prayer closet, it actually says go into your room, which is nice. That's more understandable. But overall, the NKJV holds everything that the KJV has, but it's just easier to read, and it also has some footnotes that I don't believe the KJV has. So what's the consensus on the NKJV? I say the NKJV is great. It's literally in my top 3 Bible translations personally. It's my top 3 used ones. We'll get to one of the other top 3 in the next video. But it's a great translation. I use it often. I think it's reliable. It's great word for word. You can use it for word studies, in-depth Bible study of any sorts. And yeah, great, awesome, reliable. If you have an NKJV, use it. If you have a KJV, use it. They're great. So with that being said, let's go on to the next one in our next video, which will be the CSB, which is my favorite. Have a good one, guys. God bless.